last interview, you mentioned in relation to the question, do the sins of holy men justify their own sins? The example we were using at the time was Abram and his sister, or half-sister. You said that marrying his half-sister at that time in history was acceptable. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was also before Moses and the Ten Commandments and stuff like that. So just to get to the heart of relative morality, without the existence of God, can we say murder, rape, or any other unspeakable thing is morally wrong without the existence of a God? Without a God, is there any reason not to do these things?
So with the whole question of evil, good and evil, right and wrong, if I were to walk out of here and pick up a baseball bat and bust all the windows out of your vehicle, is that right or wrong? And if you say, well, that's wrong, then where do you get the idea that that's wrong? Where do you base the whole idea of wrong on? Because if good and evil is, it's up to me what's right and what's wrong, what's good, and it might be wrong to you if I bust all the windows out of your vehicle, but to me it was all right. And so if it's relative to, if good and evil is relative to what I think or what you think, then you can't get upset with me for doing that, because it was right for me. It might be wrong to you, but it's right to me. So the whole basis of relativity, the whole basis of morality, it's all based on the existence of God. Because if there's no God, if there's no source that tells us it's right and it's wrong, then of course it's relative. So there has to, the whole basis of that question and that line of thinking is all based on the existence of something that says this is right and this is wrong. So without it, is murder, rape, whatever okay without the existence of God? That's almost an impossible question to answer, because we're all born with this sense of right and wrong. We can agree that rape is wrong. We can agree that murder is wrong. Because there's something in us that just tells us that's not right. I mean, again, if I were to just walk out and start busting windows out of cars, there would be something inside of you that would say, man, that's not right. He shouldn't have done that. So then we have to dig down and say, well, where is it that we're coming up with that? What is it that's making us feel like there's right and a wrong way? And that basis is God. So it's almost impossible to say, is murder okay without the existence of God? Because we've never been there, and we have this instilled thing inside of us that says there's a right and there's a wrong. So I think moral relativity, if I'm saying that right, it's flawed in the very beginning. So it's hard to answer the question, is without the existence of God, is there wrong? Because we've never been there. We've never been there. Even if you're on an island out in the middle of nowhere and never heard the gospel, never heard the Bible, even if you're in a village of native people that live out in the middle of the jungle, have never seen anybody else, never heard the scripture, never heard the Bible, and there's a man and his wife in a tent, if his neighbor comes in and takes advantage of his wife, that man's going to be upset. That man's not just going to let that happen, because that man senses something isn't right. And that sense of right and wrong has to be based. It has to come from something. And to me, that's the evidence of a God, of the existence of something bigger. So again, I don't know if I answered you, but
I think you did, but of course the common pushback to that would be, well, of course we base all of our morals on what society thinks is right. Instead of basing it on a God, we can instead base it on what society deems correct. And of course I bring up examples from the Bible like Sodom and Gomorrah, and then imagine if you had a community of murderers or pedos, what's going to happen when somebody walks in their community? It's kind of...
Yeah. again, I would have to challenge, okay, and you're right. So if we just sit down and decide in this room, okay, this is our morals and this is how we're going to live. And if we consider that society and coming up with morals, I mean, I guess I mean, that obviously those morals would be very corrupted. I guess as a whole society, as the world, it's whatever society believes, deems right or wrong. Again, I would have to push back and say, well, where do they base that? Where does that base come from? And even if we said, okay, we're a group of murderers and murder is good, or we're a group of pedophiles and pedophilia is okay, and we accept that, that might be acceptable in a small group of people, but you take that group of people and you put it in the world, and then you're measured against other ideas. So I just don't. I think that whole thing would fall apart. But again, I don't know if I answered that, and I've said this over and over in a lot of these questions. I think a lot of these questions we should come back and revisit and discuss more deeply at another time. I don't know if I answered you, but.
No, I mean, I think you're doing good. I will say, just for the people watching this, I'm definitely going to try to link a video below. It's already got a link on our channel, but I think it gives a beautiful visualization for kind of what we're talking about. I guess you could call it pre-programmed morality, as in, a child knows when something's bad is happening and they're going to
Let me say to viewers, if I had said things that frustrated you or made you mad or you absolutely disagree with, please send your comments. Because we would like to discuss those. We would like to have some dialogue, and if it's through the comments, that'd be great. I don't say that I have all the answers. I'm a fallible person, just like any other man. But I stand on what I believe. I'm Pastor Mike, P. Mike. I believe that you can be free, and we're here to help. You can be free, and we're here to help.